It's the education students who are the least likely to make a lot of money, the least likely to be able to, I won't use the word pay back, it's never pay back, pay forward, even though they might want to, but the stark reality is financially they're not able to. And one of the more distressing things to any college student is that inevitable student debt with which they're saddled. And, well, maybe rent comes first, but student debt comes right behind it. And it can be strangling. So, may I? I don't think I can get through this. And I don't want you to have any student debt. So, after today, you don't have it.
Brian has a scholarship fund, and I don't make it through this ever either. Brian has a scholarship fund in the college, and it's to go to a senior level student who meets specific criteria, and there's a committee that is put forth to review applications, or not even applications, but just students that are considered for this. And that is why we wanted you here so badly today, because Brian he's basically making a gift to pay off your student loan debt.
I'm not the only one.
So there's like some actual stuff we need to look at later that's more nitty gritty, but just know that Brian's intent is for you to start your career with a little less load on your shoulders.
Oh my gosh, I just can't believe this. I'm feeling a lot of pressure, excitement, a little bit of anxiety. You know, you relax all summer and then it all starts happening so fast, getting the classroom together, meet the teacher, going over all your curriculum, planning. I know how important children are, especially to their parents, and so I just want to do such a good job for them. My first day was very exciting and exhilarating and crazy and fun. It was a lot of different things. It was nerve-wracking. After everybody left, it basically feels like you just got hit by a bus. That's how I felt like. I felt like I just got, I don't know, like it's just so shocking, and you have to kind of sit there in silence and just decompress for about 2 minutes and stare at nothing. And then after I did that for a few minutes, I was like, okay, time to keep going. And I already had like a list of everything I wanted to change. And so then I just started doing that so I could feel better about today.
The number of school districts grew rapidly in Oklahoma Territory. Until 1907, there were 2,800 school districts in Oklahoma Territory. Now, happening at the same time in Indian Territory, The federal government decided in 1899 to appoint a person to administer, which was really oversight of the tribal schools in eastern Oklahoma, in Indian Territory. Some thought it was that move was set up to create public schools for the white kids, because by the early 1900s there were more white kids living in Indian Territory than there were Native American kids. Two territories combined in 1907, and the decision was made that as counties were formed in Indian Territory, school districts would be formed, and by 1912 there were 5,800 school districts in Oklahoma, 3,000 created in Indian Territory. For 100 years the state has talked about consolidation. And if you think we've gone from 5,800 to 520, we've gone through a tremendous amount of consolidation.
I definitely come from a long-standing tradition of teachers in my family. My great-grandma actually went to Northeastern State University when it was back a female seminary, so one of the first people to attend college. She actually taught in a little one-room schoolhouse in Skytook. It's now underwater. The lake has covered it, but she taught there, and my dad and my Uncle Ronnie and my Aunt Bev were all in her class. And so she taught there for many years. My mom and dad are both educators. My dad taught high school math at Will Rogers High School for 32 years and was the student council sponsor there as well. My mom taught at ORU in Tulsa and ended her career in Skytook as a PE teacher and a volleyball coach. My sister is currently the superintendent of Skytook Public Schools, which is so cool for her to kind of see that come full circle. I have many aunts and uncles that were amazing educators. Education, there's no higher calling than education in my point of view, and it's the profession that shapes all other professions, right? And so to have that family legacy is amazing. I'm proud to say that my daughter is going to follow in the education footsteps, although at first I'm kind of like, oh, are you sure? Because I know how hard education is. It really is a challenging profession, but the rewards outweigh the challenge by far. And so it was so sweet. She had her very first PE major coursework. Okay, so it was coaching sports, and they look at Oklahoma State standards, which I love her professor for. Good job, Professor Fritz, I believe is her name. But this is her coming back from class the first day.
Hey, Mom. I just wanted to call you and tell you all about my first PE class. It was so fun, and my professor's really, really cool. So just give me a call back whenever you get a chance. I just wanted to tell you about my first day. So I love you a lot. Bye.
First of all, just the idea of getting recognized for doing your job, that you've been doing for 27 years. I guess it's a unique situation and, a strange moment, I guess, just to kind of, because that's not what you do it for. You don't do it for recognition. You're not doing it for, an award or, a banquet or those kind of things. You do it because you love it. And for me, it's been such it's amazing that it's been 27 years for one thing. But it means a lot to me just to be in the classroom, and I hope it comes through when people watch me teach or just are part of it, that I just really do love what I do. And I love engaging with students. I love the interaction. I love helping the light come on for students that, maybe this is not their thing. It's teaching history or social studies or geography. It's not for everybody. They don't wake up thinking, man, another day to go learn in the classroom and learn some history. But yet my goal is to try to help hook them somehow in a way that they connect with it and find a passion for answers and become inquisitive and have a curiosity and they're not all going to love it the way I love it, but the goal is just to help them to kind of understand that there's a big picture out there and we're all part of it.
I really want to be an elementary teacher because I've always enjoyed working with kids, and so that was kind of my first thought of being an elementary teacher was like I get to work with young kids, which I think are always really enjoyable to be around. And so now, like, being able to observe in a classroom, I'm seeing more of like which subjects I would enjoy teaching more and that kind of thing. So it's all about like helping them learn the basics so that they can then go into middle school and high school.
The biggest thing that I can see from our new students coming in and the type of students that we have is just they have a heart to serve others. They've either seen it at home, their parents were teachers, or they've had teachers impact them both positively and negatively. My students that are coming in have had teachers that have basically saved them, so to speak, saw something in them that they didn't see before. And then I've also had students say, because this teacher didn't see this in me, I want to make sure that somebody else could see, I could do this for somebody else. But they're hardworking, they're organized, but the biggest thing I can say is that they have a heart to want to serve, and it's not about them. I've yet to meet a student coming into my class that has gone into this profession for selfish reasons.
One thing that has occurred over time, and this has opened up limited opportunities for women moving into administrative positions. First it was into elementary principal positions, and then eventually into middle and junior high school, and then high school positions, and now into superintendencies. I don't think half the superintendents in Oklahoma currently are female, but just here in the Tulsa area, for example, currently there are several female superintendents, which I think has been a move in the right direction.
The Jenks School District has evolved in the last 30 years from a district of approximately 7,200 students to close to 13,000 students now. We are blessed with an incredibly supportive community. The support of our community makes the buildings, the facilities possible. It's what they expect, it's what they want for their kids, and because of that, they support our annual bond elections. So from a capital expenditure perspective, from a look across the district at what you see it because of our community. Our educators are dedicated and committed to what do our kids need today, but also what do they need for their futures, knowing each of our students' futures look different. And so trying to meet them where they are, whether that is in first grade, fifth grade, that junior year in high school, it doesn't matter. Where are they and what do they need to be successful?
In my opinion, and from what I hear from teachers right now, the number one thing, if we could just go back to where teachers were respected. And that respect comes from students, from parents, to administrators, to the state legislature. Because I think if they felt that, then a lot of the other problems are going to go away. Or you could deal with those problems better. I mean, let's face it. Let's talk teacher pay. Do I want teachers to be paid? Absolutely. I pay them $100,000. They're worth every penny of it. But we don't go into teaching because of the pay, obviously. Teachers go into it because 9 times out of 10 they feel called to go be a teacher. But the things that I hear right now, respect, discipline, those things, how do you legislate those things? Support, how do you legislate that? It's hard to do, and we can't. But the one thing that we can do, at least out of this building, is to show respect by our rhetoric, by the rhetoric we have. And we got to do a better job of that.
I think one thing that's been consistent throughout all these years that I've been working here and that I've even lived in Oklahoma is the question of adequate resources for public schools has just never gone away. And I think that's been frustrating. But when you just get down to the classroom level, when you talk to teachers, when you talk to principals about the resources available to them, that has never changed. That has never changed to hear teachers talk about not having adequate resources, not having some of the basics that they need to provide students with the education that they feel that is a minimum.
Our job is to teach those core areas and obviously provide competitive teams to build character and organizations. You know, you think of whether it's athletics, you think of FFA, all the awesome things that happen there in terms of work ethic and team building and those things. So it's not just reading, writing, and arithmetic. We know that. And then after that, it's build relationships with kids. And that ought to be about it. That passionate science teacher, football coach, make it as easy as possible for him to get to work and be around kids. Don't throw a bunch of obstacles in the way. And I really feel like administratively, that's our job, is to kind of try to be that, whatever you want to call it, umbrella over them to keep stuff out of their way so they can go do what they were born to do, which is teach kids and build relationships. So we still have a lot of those. I don't think that's changed. I still think you have kids getting out of college that they have a passion to teach math, or they have a passion to be a band instructor, you know, whatever that might be. And our job ought to be to make that as easy as possible. Get them in front of kids and supply them with the resources so they can go. You know, think about a racetrack analogy. Don't put speed bumps on a racetrack. Make that thing as smooth and let those people go as fast as they can.
Who can stand up and demonstrate a robot dance for us? All right, Jackson, stand up and demonstrate.
I think I definitely want people to look at me as a teacher that... Oh, this is a hard one. I knew this was going to be the hard one. In 20 years, I want people to look at me as a teacher who has influenced their kids and educated their kids from first grade, and hopefully I can still, grow with them those 20 years and, still influence them when they're seniors in high school. I know a few teachers here now who still keep up with their kids every week, go to their football games, go to their basketball games, and support them. And I just want to be that teacher who you can say, like, oh yeah, Miss Strong, she is, she's in it. And she's not in it for the money, she's in it for the kids. And I think that's what I want to be remembered as.
The thing that sometimes is lost on all this, when I got into education, and that was in, 1991, when I was student teaching, which was prior to that, I was student teaching during the first walkout. And the teachers walked out because of salaries and because of education funding. And we were 50th in the nation. And then we did a whole lot of reforms. And then in around 2008 or so, a national agenda started really creeping in to education, and that took us to the next walkout. Along the way of that, going to that second walkout, was where the teacher shortage started to come around. And I think you see, one of the things that I think is for society is really been a positive, but it's been a negative for education, is the opportunities for women in the workplace are much better than they were, in the 70s and 80s. And because in the 70s and the 80s, a teaching position was a well-respected position for women, and they couldn't get some of those other positions, especially if they're intelligent and educated. And as those opportunities have grown, we've seen fewer people enter the education workforce. And I think that's had an effect on this.
I can remember losing teachers when I was in administration, and some of the very best teachers were leaving after 8 to 10 years, which that was not heard of 2 decades ago. You were in this, you were there, you were committed. It was not on your radar as to, I'm gonna stay 2 more years. I'm not staying if I don't get a raise. I can't stay if I don't get a raise. So that dialogue has certainly changed right now. But I don't believe that the passion of teachers has changed. I'm hoping that we can turn that corner and keep them.
My travel is probably different than most of the teachers that you have through here. Kind of went through the Teachers to Troops program. Military, 26 years in the Air Force, and I was a first sergeant there for a while as well. And I loved helping young airmen. I seen an advertisement for substitute teaching after 2 months after I retired, and I went home and I told my wife, and I said, look at this, I think this would be great. I was so excited, and my wife's like, I've never seen you so excited about this, So I got in there, and as soon as I got started, I was pretty much substituting every single day. I loved working with the kids. The principal asked me right at Christmas for that break if I'd be willing to come in and fix their program for FACS. And they said, your military background, that's probably what a lot of these kids need. On first day, I talked with the principal and I said, I will do this, but I'll be your math teacher. And as soon as I started seeing what I had to teach 2 hours later, I was like, I was it. I was like, I love it because this is kind of what I wanted to do, teach a lot of young individuals life skills. And I'm going from subject to subject every couple of weeks. And a lot of them, they tell me at this point, they're like, yeah, I probably won't need that. I'm like, you just don't know it yet, but you do need it. And then now I'm talking with individuals that have come through the program, who graduated high school, and they come back and they're like, thank you for what you taught me. I didn't know I needed it, but thank you.
Tell me a word that rhymes with ish. Hold it up and release on 3. 1, 2, 3.
This is the warmest fuzzy that I get. And it's not about me, but it is. If there's nothing else that I can do, this will be the last hurrah. So, and as of December, it's now endowed to where if I get hit by a bus, it'll continue. And that was my goal.
Teaching through the years now have become more of a fill in the blank. So here's your script, and this is where you need to be because teacher B over at the other school across town is doing the same thing, and those students and your students need to be at the same place at the same time at all times. That's not teaching. Teaching is the passion, the life events of that teacher, how they learn, how they take how they learn and transfer it in a way that is accessible to other learners. It's a craft. It's a craftsmanship. It is, you do your student teaching under the tutelage of a mentor teacher. And so with that should come autonomy, should come I have studied, I have learned, I have perfected my craft, I should be able to do my job.
I would say the number one challenge for Oklahoma school leaders is a teacher shortage.
And let me just put it this way. When I was moving from teacher to assistant principal and then later as principal, one of the core values that we had in hiring for excellence was asking ourselves the question, would we want this person who we are interviewing or considering to be responsible for the education of my own child? Would I want this child with this person either all day long in an elementary setting or for all semester or all year long, one period a day or 2 periods a day, depending on your school schedule within the secondary level? And what I ran into, even in my own school leadership, especially during the recession after 2008, and especially since that time, has been this agony that happens when you are interviewing and opening positions and recognizing that you are having a harder and harder time finding the person you would want your own child to be with in an education setting. And that to me is a travesty.
One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Probably just how amazing kids are and how much they care. You know, I've been through things, you know, life, whatever. One day I was just having a really hard day. And kids can see that. They see when you're having a bad day. They see when you're having a good day. And, you know, I broke down. I was at my teacher table and tears were coming down. Of course I had makeup. One of my students, he was like, "Miss Chad, your makeup's coming off. You might want to fix it." And I was like, "Thanks." But I had a lot of students just write me little notes like, "Miss Chad, please don't cry, because when you cry, I cry, and I don't want to be sad." Or, "We don't like to see you sad." Or, you know, just the amount of stuff that kids care about that you don't see. These kids are 8 and 9. You think, oh, they don't really understand, or they don't understand emotions that well. No, they look and they understand, oh, Miss Chad's not having a good day, and, you know, let's be quiet. Or if Miss Chad's like, I don't feel the greatest today, you know, but I don't want to take off. They're super quiet, or they'll, you know, go get me water, or say, "Miss Chad, would you like one of my snacks?" And I'm like, "No, you eat your snack." But this class has really taught me how much kids care and how much kids really appreciate their teachers. And so this class, I'm very grateful for this class.
Well, teachers, they always carry the weight of their students. And I think with mental health becoming such a bigger part of our day-to-day work, they're carrying that weight as well. And so how do we get them the support they need so that that weight they're carrying doesn't weigh them down too much where they can't be effective teachers?
I feel it's my role and responsibility to help push the agenda of educating the whole child, because, and especially starting in the lower grade levels, because if those students don't know how to behave in class, they don't know how to cope with emotions, they don't know how to make good decisions, then they can't learn. And so ideally when they're here at school, we want them to be able to learn. Academics is the focus, but if we're not educating the whole child, then we're doing them a disservice when they go out into the world, especially when I think about here at OSUCEHS. You know, our students, a lot of them end up going to Bartlesville High School, which is more of that type of high school like you would see in Tulsa or Oklahoma City public schools, where it's less sheltered, less rural. They're exposed to lots of things that they haven't been exposed to here. So we have a duty to educate our students and prepare them for real world life challenges on top of just the education component.
There's so many emotions that go into this job and relationships, and I've always tried to be that with my players and my students as well, to get to know them on a personal level. Obviously, being in this career, I don't know that you last if you're not willing to learn from kids and families and experiences at different schools. You have to make adjustments, and you got to be able to adjust on the fly, so to speak. But I just think that the things they've taught me is the reason why I've been fortunate to have had some success. So I've also been willing on this side of it to learn.
I think the biggest thing for me was how much teachers do. Like, I didn't see that behind the scenes, right? As a parent, I saw the notes went home, I saw my kids' work and things like that, but I never really saw what went into putting together a lesson, capturing 25 kids' attention and everybody at the same time being engulfed in what you are teaching. And it may not be something that they're interested in. And how teachers go out of their way to make lessons pertain to their students, to the kids who are in their class, so you can't kind of do the same thing every year because you have different kids every year. And that was that hidden aspect of teaching that I had no idea what it would really take to get up in front of 25 little kiddos and say, here's something that you didn't know, and let me teach it to the point where you know it. And then I'm going to test you over it too.
The laws have changed, and we've been able to identify different levels of disability and different categories. It has helped because now the public can see that there are disabilities that may be invisible. I think the biggest change has been that there seems to be a better understanding that special education, used to, we viewed it as a place that people went, and now it's more and more being accepted that it's more services that we provide.
Unlike where we used to be in special education, we have created the transition programs. Stillwater High School calls our program the Pathfinders because my students are working to find their path to the community, how to be successful in the rest of their life independently. Unlike in the past too, we have programs set up that we are working on the daily living skills. We're working on independent skills, self-advocacy, awareness, self-awareness, community awareness, all of those different areas that may become easy to other students and maybe not, but we really focus on those skills and making sure that our students, whenever they do graduate, whenever they reach the age of 21, they weren't just working on the same things all along. They're working on what can I do for my community? What can I do for myself? How can I provide for myself? What's my purpose? So that's really what we work on in our Pathfinders program, is finding their purpose, finding their path in life.
Students with disabilities were graduating high school and graduating from special education programs, and there really wasn't an option for them to pursue higher education. And so they were watching their peers go to college and thinking, I want to go to college. I want to go do what my friends are doing. And families were really wondering what was a good next step for their students and didn't quite have any ideas on what those opportunities would be or what that could look like for them. There really weren't a lot of options. And so as a result, universities and community colleges across the country kind of started the groundwork for creating what we now call IPSE programs, or inclusive post-secondary education programs. The movement's really taken off, and there are, I think it's right around 315 programs across the country, and programs are housed in four-year universities, in community colleges, in technical training institutes. Really, the programs are as unique as the universities or education institutions that house them, which is great, and provides students with an opportunity to pursue higher education with their peers, with their friends, in a way that fits for them.
Where I have seen school leaders really dig in schools that are serving schools well, or school leaders that, first of all, believe that trust in school culture is essential for people to be able to show up in a place where they feel safe, where they feel like there is a collaborative spirit between leadership and teachers. I have seen principals who have built programs where they've tried to look at the school from the perspective of their kids. So they're trying to create, and especially the secondary, which is where my experience has been, trying to create programs where you can meet as many needs for students as possible.
I hope that I've been fair to every kid, that I've, got the potential out of every kid. And that's I've coached, I still coach some. I I want kids to reach their potential. And I think as educators, that's our job, is to get them to reach their potential. Whatever that potential is, everybody's potential is different. If I can look back at what I've done here, and I've tried to get kids to reach their potential and set that environment where we do that, then I think that I've done my job. That's what I want. You know, as far as the school goes, the facilities, you know, leaving it a better place than what it was whenever I got here, which is a challenge, passing bonds and things like that. But you know, those things, leaving a facility that's in a good place, that's important. But again, it all goes back to the kids, and I think that that's why we're here. That's why I started. And if I can get the most out of our kids, and one day, you know, 10 years from now, a kid looks back and can say that, like, yeah, they was hard on me or whatever, but it's in my best interest. I can see that now. I didn't see that then, you know, which I think that we all do whenever we look back on those experiences. So that's what I want to leave. I want to do right by kids and get them to where they can be, because every day we educate kids that are smarter than we are. And it's not about where we get them to, but what they can go do.
Not only as my background as a police officer, but as a father. I've got 5 daughters. And for me, my daughters are safe when they're with me. Whenever people drop their kids off at these schools, I want them to feel as safe. I want their children to be safe. And I'm gonna protect their kids like I protect my own. It's that simple. We have to be proactive, not reactive. And I will never second guess anything that anyone ever does, but that's my approach. We're gonna do everything we can to protect these kids, and whatever that means, and we're gonna do it.
We have been faced with new changes in the child nutrition guidelines. That's been very challenging. They've increased, they've stepped up, and their requirements are asking a lot more from us. Serving size-wise, components in foods and so forth. Stuff that's kind of hard to get anymore, and that's been challenging as well. You make a menu and you're good to get to follow it because you don't know what you can and cannot get at this time.
If we look at how healthy a kiddo eats in the U.S., we give it a score from 0 to 100. It's like a letter grade. You want 100. Nobody's at 100, but you want 100. The average U.S. kiddo is at a 54 out of 100, which means their diet's not the greatest. But if you look at school lunches, for example, their scores are on average about a 65 to an 85 out of 100. I mean, let's just go in the middle, 75 out of 100. That's an over 20-point jump from the average U.S. child. For every 10 points you jump, and this is anywhere from 15 to 30-point jump, for every 10 points, you see 8 to 10% reduction in heart disease and type 2 diabetes risk later in life. Now, as a child and later in life, massive reduction in risk of overweight and obesity. So health-wise, we have a brighter future from eating child nutrition programs in schools. But then look at their academic performance, the other really important thing. We see with that 10-point jump, we see about a 3 to 8% improvement in reading and math scores. We see 10 to 15% improvements in absenteeism and on-task time, higher GPAs, better pass rates from high school. So we have like a brighter future all around from, I mean, this 15 to 30-point jump, it's even bigger than that, double it or triple that. The influence is huge. School nutrition programs, all those, breakfast, lunch, snacks that they offer, awesome programs. The parents participate in them, and school nutrition staff, like my unsung heroes, thank you for all that they do. They're literally feeding a better Oklahoma. That's pretty cool.
I have right here on this thing is public schools are the best way to love our neighbors. If my one wish for public schools in Oklahoma is for people to understand that investment allows us from all backgrounds to see each other in our best version of ourselves. And over a continuum of a child's life in school, we can share life with all the caring adults that are in that child's life. And so then the adults form relationships, the children form relationships, cross-generational relationships. I know the town that I grew up in, Tipton, Oklahoma, I had 4 or 5 jobs in that town that the people that knew me from school were able to connect me to. I had people from the community writing letters of reference for me for college. So I knew young and old people from all levels growing up, and we could have that in every zip code in Oklahoma.
Narawikani na miarui. When I was going to Cash, they wouldn't let you grow long hair, so I said, well, I'm gonna go to the boarding school because they let you. I mean, it's all natives. We were up there and we was in the dormitory after school, and all the workers there were natives and all the teachers were natives, so I didn't think anything of it when I said one word in my language, in Comanche language, and the matron said, come with me, and I thought maybe he wanted to know what I was saying, but he said, took me in the office and made me sign a paper, and I was reading it, and it said, by order of the federal government, you're not allowed to speak any language at this school of your native language, and first offense is licks with a paddle. All the native churches around here sang Comanche hymns when I was growing up. Well, then as I got older, I'd go visit each church, and not too many people were singing Comanche hymns. So I said, well, I want to help to try to bring it back if I can, and at least sing some hymns. So I started learning the hymns, and then that led to where I worked at the Comanche Nation Housing Authority. They said, well, can you teach us? Well, so we had a class there every week. I was teaching them how to read the alphabet and how to teach the language. So then the language department said, have you ever thought of teaching it in school? And I said, no, not really. I mean, I just started teaching these, the hymns. So they just happened that the teacher retired in Elgin, Oklahoma, and they said, you're our first choice if you want to take it. And I was like, oh, wow.
That's a common misconception, I think, throughout the United States. When people hear Native American or American Indian, they automatically think most of us are reservation-based, and which is quite the opposite. A ton of our Native students are in urban areas, even in Denver, Phoenix, Albuquerque. It's not just Oklahoma. And then Oklahoma is special in that we have so many tribes in a small land base. We have 39 tribes in our state. We actually have about 14,000 Native students in the metro area. That's not just with Oklahoma City, but with our surrounding. It is difficult because you do have your tribes that their headquarters are in smaller towns, but their population and their citizens might be in urban areas. So we're constantly, as a district, we don't have a tribe that falls in our district. So we have to make partnerships and build relationships with those tribes. And we have to tell them, we have, 400 of your Chickasaw students. We have 300 of your Cherokee students. So, how can we work together to service those families and your citizens? So it is a common misconception, and it's just about educating not only our tribes, but our general population.
Two people, good. My friend and I, mi amigo y yo, right? So you have to say are. Why did you not say were?
Guyman Public Schools educates 3,000 students a year. We have students from all over the world. We have 32 identified languages and dialects. Our poverty rate is about 85%. We are about 85% minority. We are about 47% English language learners actively still identified that have not gained their English language proficiency. Vision of success is to leave a good enough impression that our students as parents will support their children in education, and it'll just take longer for the ripple to meet the shore. So when the stone lands, it might be the second or third ripple before public education is significantly traditionally successful with this child.
Teachers seem to be viewed more now than then as robots is too strong a term, but entities set there to carry out rather than to create. And I think that is probably the biggest change. When I started teaching, teachers were definitely creators and were recognized as such. And I have to say, respected as such. And now when I see teachers are viewed more as those who carry out what others have created, as more of a transmitter than a creator.
When you're in college, taking your college classes, they teach you all the things you need to teach. So how to create a lesson, how to create a unit, how to look at standards and go from there, how to look at curriculum and accommodate for students. But the things they can't teach you are the things that you're only going to learn in a classroom. So classroom management. They can teach you strategy after strategy, but you will never know until you're sitting in front of 23 fifth graders, all with very different personalities, how to manage a classroom.
The pride of the Great Southwest is what we call Booker T. Washington, and to be able to come back home full circle, it really brings a lot of emotion to me because there were plenty of people. I always say I came from a village. It takes a village to raise a child. There was Janice Bayou, there was Elmer Davis, there was Ava Fisher. There were so many in my village here, Barbara Coleman, that poured into me inside of the classroom and outside in the community. And I never knew why they were pouring so much in me. My parents being graduates of Booker T. Washington, I always thought Booker T. Washington was a place of family, a place of diversity, a place where you could be yourself. Although I had challenges, I knew it was a reason to come back home. It was a place where I wanted to be. And it's a place who made me, and it's a place who's still making students today.
It's no shock to see that she's Teacher of the Year because she always stood out and led from the front. And so she's just a remarkable woman, mother, wife, friend, sister, and so many more things that she's such a great person at.
She just puts everything, like anytime I come in here, she'll put me before like anything. Like anything I need to talk about, I can come in here, I can just come to her without judgment. She gives me great advice. She just makes me feel welcome and comforted. Like at times I don't always feel that at school, so it's just like my safe place to go to, like my confidant. Yeah, she knows stuff about me that I can't share with everybody else, but she knows and she helps me through things.
We have to move to the next level outside of the classroom and see how do we get the voice of public education back out there as to being #1 on the list, because we know we have charter now and we have privatization, which we've always had, but then we have public, which is one of the lowest areas. And to know Oklahoma, we are still very low. And I, as a public educator, know that this is still not only a genuine way, but the best way that I think that students can be educated, because it is a representation of our society. And so one of my I shouldn't say many platforms, but my main push will be pushing Oklahoma back into excellency. And so as an English teacher, of course, I always have an acronym. And so when we look at push and we look at where we are, we want to prepare, of course, the learners for tomorrow and know that what we have probably is still working. And I say probably because many teachers are putting their best foot forward daily. But we're looking at state scores. Is that the only lens that we should be looking at to prepare our learners for tomorrow? Utilizing the experts that are in the classroom. Your teachers are your experts, and so many of the times higher up they ask individuals who are outside of education to come in, but that's not who teachers can lean on. They can lean on one another. Students come to them, so we have the answers, but we have to begin to trust and understand that the experts are who we need, so utilizing them. And when we think of S, making sure that we sustain what we have, many teachers across the state are teaching with high levels of rigor. You've gone into many classrooms and you've seen that. So sustaining the curriculum and things that we have and the traditions, because that's what makes the school what it is. And then the last one, H, when we begin to help eradicate these systems of poverty and achievement gap within our state, we have to know that they exist, and those are reasons why our test scores are lower, especially in our metropolitan and urban areas and our rural areas. Suburban areas have their own issues as well, but if we come together to eradicate some of those issues, I believe that we really can be that excellent bar that we need to be. But it's going to take for all of us, whether it's the state superintendent, the teacher in the classroom, the administrator, the superintendents in your various districts, to come together to push Oklahoma back into excellency and say, we have the key. We just have to turn it together to be able to unlock the door.
Most teachers, the vast majority of teachers, will talk about their concern for their students. And I believe that that comes from the fact that teaching is mission-driven work.
I want my 2 grandchildren, the oldest of whom is in pre-K this year, I want them to be welcomed in every classroom they walk into, and to be able to grow in every classroom they walk into. I want them to look forward to going to school tomorrow.
I still think every parent at the end of the day wants better for their kid than what they had. And I think every teacher wants better for their students than what they had too.
Well, the wins and losses are wonderful, but at the end of the day, it's about the relationship that you have with those players or students. And so I hope I impacted them positively, like I was as a student in school, and the way my teachers impacted me. I hope that I had the same sort of impact on their lives as well.
Well beyond my years here, I want us to continue this trajectory of meeting kids where they are and moving them forward and preparing them for whatever their passions, their goals are for life beyond high school.
And it's the students of the reason why I stay. They are amazing kids, and I'm super blessed to be a part of their lives, and just that one small impact, if I could be that one small impact to a kid and they remember me for the rest of their life, just like how I remember Mrs. Holderman and Mrs. Smith, then I've done my part.
Let us teach our kids. Let us be Shattuck. Keep all the political stuff out. Leave us alone. Let us be Shattuck.
I want more winners by making sure that we are funding public education. And that would take not only the funds, but then the buy-in of our districts, because our districts are like their own little cells, and they haven't been valued. Their education level, their life skills have not been valued across the state. What if we brought them all together? What if we okay, what has worked in your district? What has worked in your district? And then fund it.
It just helps you see humanity different when you're a teacher. You see individuals differently, and you see people more as their inner child and who they were when they were younger. And it brings me back to when I was a kid and seeing goals and dreams I had for myself and giving myself grace and keeping myself accountable about who I am today.